Outstanding. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Public Utilities Commission for Thursday, June 8th to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public input?
Excuse me, I think, Donna, you might want to check if you have to let people in.
There you go.
I don't know what you
Yeah.
exactly have to do. Or it could be Marty.
Yeah.
I think it's me too. Okay.
Marty, if you can hear me?
Recording in progress.
Put your turn on your volume.
Marty, you're muted.
I've been trying to get on the last couple of minutes. I don't know what the problem was, but
We hear you now.
I'm here now.
Okay, are you muted there, Steve? Okay, so Marty, just so you know, we had a lot of people of yours. Did you? And Marco does. It needs to be muted, right?
Hold on.
There you go. Right. Oh, would you? Okay, Marty, okay, so just so you know, we called the meeting to order. We did the Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry about the delay.
It's okay.
Okay, so we're at public input. Any public input? See none. Correspondence. I don't think we have any, do we?
No.
Nope. I can make a motion that we accept the minutes from the regular meeting of April 13th, 2023. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Guess I should have called for the nays. Any against? Okay, motion passes. Okay, first off is the financial report.
Right, so, April financial report was sent out to everybody. Here's the May report. As you can see, both are in a surplus position right now. Some of the expenses that we've been talking about all year. We've talked a lot about, especially when it relates to some of the maintenance items. Like equipment maintenance. Like wells and reservoir maintenance is up, service line maintenance is up, but there's still like water main water main maintenance has room in it, plant maintenance. And so overall, the maintenance line items look okay. Even with it, we've had earlier in the year. And for the most part, everything looks like it's in a good spot. On both water and sewer. So nothing is alarming there. Plant maintenance on sewer side is the one that's way over, but we had talked about that a lot. That was when we had to run the pumping trucks right down.
Yes,
Yeah, and I think it was a holiday weekend.
and I think it happened in August.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So, but as you can see, in May, we didn't pay anything else towards it. It's been at the 98 412 for the last 2 months.
Yeah, 49 of it was all related to the Payne Road.
Yeah.
We replaced one pump, repaired 2 pumps, and we had Pembroke on standby for about 5 days. It was spare pump. And we have a spare pump now.
Yeah, otherwise, I'm happy with where everything is right now.
Make a motion, we accept the financial report. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And motion passes. Invoices.
There's several this month. We canceled the last meeting, so there's a couple of carryovers in there.
So this invoice number 1 for Kovacs, that's the very first installment?
That is correct.
And Tom, you told me that you're working on finishing up the stuff in the state, so obviously we can't get reimbursed for it yet, but we will once we
Yes.
get to that point.
Yeah, we'll get a big reimbursement once the loan is closed, so
Yeah.
they still have a few things to do, they gotta close their. Or accept their intended use plan has to be accepted. And then they can start issuing loans, I think we're kind of early, we're gonna be one of the first ones I think they're gonna deal with, so. But I don't know the timing, but it'll be probably a couple more months at least. So we probably have to float this project for a little bit.
I have not put any motion on the table as of yet. I'm looking at the other right Pierce one. Okay, never mind. It has the two together. Okay. The other day we had a invoice come across that was entirely wrong, so I'm spending some time making sure the numbers look right.
Yeah, there's I guess 3 right piers for Bergstrom.
Yeah,
One, I think, came in right around the time of our last meeting, which was April, so I didn't get it on that agenda. And then we've got 2 others, and the most recent one, he actually got it in a little bit early, so.
Okay.
They all made this meeting, basically. Then I have the one right piers for the SCADA project. And I got the one, Weston and Sampson for the sewer, the lining project at the railroad easement. And then the large one for Kovacs for the first, invoice for Bergstrom.
I'll make a motion and put it on the table.
second, all in favor of putting it on the table for discussion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I don't remember last time we had to accept the invoices and.
No,
That's the next motion.
just the bottom line.
Yeah, we make.
Yeah, right.
a motion on the amount.
Yeah.
It's just not amend that, I made the motion to pay the invoices in the amount of $715,319.72.
And I second that. Okay. So all in favor of the motion of paying the $715,319.72. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No motion passes. Okay. Okay, next up, new business. 42 Plum Beach Road, the sewer allocation.
So I asked the applicant to come in and just give us an overview of the project. It's on Plum Trees, kind of near the corner with Whittlesey. And Steve DeMarco was here. He can explain the project, what he's proposing to do. There'll be a sewer allocation required. And then I also had some comments on their utility layout that I could, explain. So I'll throw it over to Steve when he's ready to get on the computer.
Steve DeMarco, 42 Plum Trees Road LLC. I have a project proposed for a small over 55.
You need to share. You need to share the screen, so.
Yes, I will.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Small over 55 community, very similar to what I did at, I believe it's 10 Nashville Road Extension. See if I can pull up the.
Don, you gotta make them photos. Give them the ability.
And you can see total.
How we can go out. But now you should have the ability to share.
So it's gonna have to.
So multiple ones, so.
That makes sense.
You need to pick which one at a time you want to show. Yeah, you gotta actually hit, go back to the. So here. Click share. You want to show them that. So click, highlight that, and then click share.
Here we go.
There we go. Okay, so this map shows, it's, gonna be a 10-unit complex. When you pull in off a little, see there's a cluster of three, and 4 individual houses, one of which will be the existing house, the existing Reynolds house, which had some historic value to it, so we tried to keep it, incorporate it into the project. And the reason we're here today is to add for some additional sewer allocation.
Mhm.
And I believe Tom has the calculations of what we're asking for.
Yeah, they, I got this from, Doug DeVesta, their engineer. Basically, they're gonna get a credit for the existing, 3-bedroom home. So they're gonna get a credit of the 240 gallons per day based on 80 gallons per bedroom. So the new units, he's got 6 2-bedroom attached units. So that's gonna be 12 bedrooms, 100 gallons a day per bedroom. You got 1,200 gallons per day there. And then the other 3 standalone homes, 2 bedrooms each. So that's another 6 bedrooms at 80 gallons per day per bedroom for 480. So the total allocation is gonna be 1,680 gallons per day of sewer allocation for the project.
You were talking about the credit for the first one. How'd that work again?
Well, he's already connected to the system, so
Right, so it doesn't count.
so that's not getting added into the allocation.
Right,
It's
okay.
pre-existing, we call it grandfathered, whatever you want to say.
So that's just not in the number.
Correct, exactly. So the sewer allocations for the additional flow.
Yep.
Exactly.
How many bedrooms is he in? Just
The existing house is 3 bedrooms.
3 bedroom?
The existing house is 4 bedrooms, but we're gonna probably make it a 3.
3 bedroom.
And what's the allocation for the existing house then? Is it 400?
I made it 240, 3 times 80 gallons a day.
That was the existing house.
Correct.
That's what we were talking about, the credit then.
Yeah, so I was just adding basically, they're getting an allocation for the 6 attached units and the 3 other units, really, that's what's coming into play.
Right.
So that adds up to 1,680.
Okay, so let me back up a second. On the current house,
Yes,
does he have an allocation on the current house?
it's already,
Before, it was just kind of baked in. It wasn't.
it was already cranked in, basically.
Yeah, there was no, you're not getting. By you going down 1 bedroom, we're gonna give 100.
Yeah,
We're just leaving it as is.
yes, all you're really doing with the allocation is what are you adding to the?
What are you adding? Okay, cool. Just wanna make sure.
Make a motion that we approve the 1,680 gallons for the Marco subdivision.
The water's coming up on Plum Street Road.
Real quick for 1 second.
Here's
So,
what I'm saying.
gentlemen, I'll second the motion. Okay, now for discussion.
Sorry.
Motion's on the table. Now go.
Oh, all right. I had a couple of revisions I was gonna suggest, the water's coming in, the way it's drawn up is coming in off Plum Trees Road. He's snaking it in between like 2 underground drainage structures and in between 2 buildings in close proximity. He was coming up to the back, kind of T-boning it off with 2 dead ends. I'm suggesting just come in off the driveway on Whittlesey. It'll be 1 straight run coming in, take your services off of that. Now you're not putting a main or pipes in between, close proximity in between 2 buildings with multiple drainage, structures underneath you. And also he's got 3 extra valves and 1 extra blow off that he's not gonna need if he brings it in off the main road. My other suggestion, he's got all 8-inch pipe. With that fewer homes, I think a 4-inch main would be adequate so that you have less residence time in the pipe. In order to get some fire protection, my suggestion is tap it off the main with an 8. At the entrance, have a T for a hydrant. And then reduce it to 4 going in to serve the homes.
Okay.
So that was gonna be my suggestion for P and
Yeah,
Z. I mentioned that to Steve. He was good with that as well.
well, if it's 8-inch line, you got a deadline.
Correct.
There's not enough flow. And you gotta get stinky water.
No,
Right?
I
Yeah, it's
agree.
realistic. Yeah, they have an 8-inch for the hydrant and go 4 after that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my suggestion on the water. On the sewer, I was making one suggestion. They were gonna connect into the sewer main by building a doghouse manhole around the pipe. I'm suggesting just tap into the pipe and forget the doghouse manhole. They can easily plug the line at the upstream manhole, and if they need to have Pembroke stand by to pump it out while they make the connection, that's easy enough. And actually, there's enough of the sewer line that goes uphill. You could probably surcharge the line while they're making that connection as well. So I don't think either one of those would be a problem. But I'd rather avoid just putting in another manhole that's got to get maintained.
Would you suggest leaving the sewer line for the existing house alone?
If your existing home has sewer and water and you're happy with the service, then if you don't connect to the new stuff, you just leave the existing lateral and service line.
Connect the water, because I was told.
Yeah.
That
That
was
was,
your suggestion, because now we're digging in one street as opposed to digging in both.
Correct.
Both, and I think we're in the lawn on Little C, not even in the street.
I think you're in the lawn on Whittlesey. If you're gonna tap, which makes probably better sense. To tap the existing house off the new pipe. Because then you can now run a 1-inch line. You probably have a 3/4.
Yeah.
But you gotta disconnect the service line out at Plum Trees. But the good thing is the main is behind the sidewalk. Over in front of the old
So
PD,
we don't have to go in.
so you won't be in the road.
Oh, that's perfect.
And one other thing was, there's a manhole, I think it's about 30 feet in, because you were gonna put a little deflection in there. So we still have access. I mean, you gotta clean out at the end, but you still have something close to the main. If you had to clean something.
And I was saying maybe we could tap the sewer in the summer when school's not in session. There'd be a lot less flow, I would think,
The
at
only
least to get it
flow-
on the property.
The only flow you're gonna really deal with is coming out of the
DRT,
ERT and then up into the old age.
Reynolds Bridge, yeah, the other ones go the other way.
Yeah, after it goes the other way.
But it's
I
all,
think
it's
you
all
got plenty-
doable.
Yeah, you got plenty of room that I think you could surcharge it, but we can watch the manholes.
Coordinated.
All the basements unfinished.
Yes, most of these are gonna be slab on grade.
House lab on grade.
The 3 individual houses, depending on the soil conditions, may have a basement. Very similar to Nashville.
But no, finished,
No finish.
no bathrooms,
No, totally meant for 55 and older, first floor living
no problem.
with a bedroom above for guests and a bathroom for guests.
What are we running for water pressure here?
We're good.
Over 90 pounds.
Yeah. Because we're coming out of ball field at 100 plus.
Well, the wells are 105.
Well, he's gonna need he's gonna need pressure regulators on it because of
Yeah.
the public health code, the plumbing code is 75 pounds.
Like those units in the back, you're coming up in elevation, so you might be, you might be in 80s.
And Steve, are these rented or
For that.
for sale? Okay, so the,
Everything's an individual lateral and an individual service. Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to approve 1,680 for the sewer allocation.
Gallons per day.
Gallons per day. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. That motion passes. Okay, so next up is to talk about the fiscal year 2023-2024 water and sewer budgets. Do I have a motion for discussion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion passes. And for discussion. It was brought up that we might want some time to, chew on this before we actually vote on the budget. But I'll open it for discussion now if anybody has any thoughts, or we can table to the next one. Review it.
because we just got it. So.
Yeah, I had it as part of the packet for the May meeting.
Right.
And of course, we canceled it, but you had it then. The version right now, I think that was mine, Steve.
Oh, I had one all highlighted. Is that? You didn't tear that?
No,
out?
I put it back All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. So the version I submitted for this meeting is virtually the same. I had to tweak a couple of numbers, changed it by a couple of thousand. It's essentially the same as what you had from prior to the May meeting.
So I think there's, what do you think, Rich?
Well,
I don't mind laying on-
Yeah, I think we should table it to the next meeting and give us a chance to look it over. Dino's not here.
We need
Dino's,
a printout, a nice, give me a good printout of it, okay?
it's in the
Yeah,
packet.
okay, I got that, all right.
So if
So we
if
can
you
work
have
on
an
that.
extra package, I can drop it off at Dino's house when he comes back.
I can get you one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I got it.
you know, just, I'll make a motion with table, but, for discussion,
Second,
okay?
Before you vote on that, if you have any specific questions. And if it's something more detailed, feel free to reach out to Tom or I between the next meeting. Cause then it'll give us time to research if you have whatever.
All right. So, oh, thank you, thank you.
so we have motion to table the discussion of the budgets on the next meeting. All in favor?
Oh, yeah. Well, I had one
Can I ask?
Yeah.
question, yeah. I have-
So the total water budget is only increasing by what?
You're looking at the O and M, those first two pages?
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to back out what the capital projects are.
Yep.
So the thing as a whole looks 6.8, but 6.7 of it is the capital project. So.
The actual operating budget only went up 50,000.
If you subtract out those numbers, Brian, I don't have those numbers
No,
handy.
it's like 120,000. Some of it's, you're right, because you have transfer outs going up 81. It's like 40,000.
Yeah.
I want to say on the, if I had I want to say on the order of about a 4%, 3.5 to, 4.5%, somewhere in there increase. Is what I thought.
It's not even.
No, because you're looking at, really, because if you take the transfer out at 81, because that's really just. The budget has to balance, the transfer out is just to balance what the anticipated revenue is. So when you really look at true expenses, they're going up like 40,000 versus. On 4 million, you're talking like 1%.
1%.
Well, the one thing you gotta figure in there is I'm anticipating getting reimbursed for a lot of the money that we.
Now, Brian understands that, he's just talking about the straight up, if you just took all the capital out.
Yep.
And the transfer out at.
Yep.
Straight operating, it's like a $40,000 increase in operating or 1%.
So I guess my question is, is it really worth tabling this budget for the next meeting? What's the purpose of tabling it for a $40,000 increase over last year? Are we, that's, look at it.
Well, it's not that it's a huge hurry, and I think if the other commission members want to feel comfortable with it, wait for Dino, then it's okay to. Okay, to wait though, it's not the end of the world.
Tom, is the, I see here you got on the capital projects, replacement, is that submersible pump that we talked about, looked at?
Yes, I'm carrying that still. I still need a better number from Kovacs, but that's what that was for.
Well, my question is that material and labor, is that just the pump, or can you hone that in a little bit?
Yeah, let me do that for next meeting.
Yeah,
for
so
the
let's,
next meeting?
yeah, so right now we're not on capital yet. We're still on the, whether or not we're gonna table the budget, right? So all in favor of tabling the budget till the next meeting? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed? Can you report that out? Motion passes. Okay, so now let's go on to the capital.
Well, capital was part of that.
Yeah.
It's part of
Actually,
the
so
budget.
it's listed separate. The capital project status summary is separate.
But that's Tom's update on the current
Right.
capital project.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
I
just
got it.
giving you the description of the line item that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's open the capital project status summary and the budget for discussion. Because if you want to talk more about the capital and the budget now, or do you want to wait there, Rich?
Oh, I can wait.
Okay.
That was just one
Yeah,
question.
gotcha. Sorry.
And I see he did have it here.
So, old business, the, PUC capital project status summary.
Okay, hold on one sec.
We're tabling the sewer budget too.
Yeah, we tabled both of them together. So we can have more time to look it over.
That's a question on the sewer though. We're talking about $37,000 increase over that.
But some of that gets buried by the transfer out account, so. Cause if you look at it like. I think, you got the wrong thing, looking at the actual budget. Like if you look at. Capital projects are up 23 to 37. It's because the transfer's out, Brian, goes down 250, sewer's up actually a lot more than water. So it doesn't look like much, but it's very,
That's
because
okay.
last year, quote unquote profit, really 250, now we're saying it's 6,000. So expenses are really up a lot more,
But we're taking,
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So Tommy, we'll go ahead with, the, capital project status summary.
Yeah, I did have a director's report. I have a couple items beyond just the,
Oh, I apologize. I jumped right before, didn't I?
Yep.
Sorry about that, director's report.
Brief, I just wanted to fill everybody in on, PFAS. We got our sample results in April. So at this point, the analysis is covering like 18 individual PFAS chemicals. The feds, the EPA is looking at, limits, strict limits, 4 parts per trillion on 2 of those chemicals. And then for another 4, they have like a formula, they call it a hazard index, which I haven't jumped into too much, but I think we're gonna be okay with that hazard index. But anyway, long story short, our results, ranged from about a 1.5 parts per trillion, and our worst sample was like a 5.8 parts per trillion. On the 2 that they're putting limits on of 4, 1 well was under 4, 1 well was over 4. But the bottom line is all of our results are in like those single digit, between 0 and 8 or 0 and 6. We need to build more history just to see, where we're gonna settle in on, so. And again, we don't know what EPA is gonna do as far as the final rule. Right now, they threw out the 4 parts per trillion. If that number gets raised, we might be in a better position, but we don't know till we know. So I'm gonna just continue with quarterly samples. We did one in April, I'll do one in July. And we'll just keep going. So we'll get every season, and it's probably like a 3-year, at minimum, a 3-year process before compliance is required. So,
Let's go to Ashland.
but Pete brought up a good point in terms of, I'll have more of a discussion with Marius from Wright Pierce in terms of the building we're about to build at Bergstrom. Do we need to rearrange any tankage so that we can fit 2 more tanks in? And it looks like we already can. Where he's got the 3 iron and manganese filters, there's room at the other end of the building probably to put 2 more tanks. So, but I'll have more of a discussion, but it's kind of difficult to kind of come up with anything specific when we're kind of so up in the air.
Yeah, because that residue has to be sucked out and it has to be taken away, so. And we didn't know what that's gonna cost.
No, I mean, the O&M, the capital improvement and the O&M costs are gonna be high. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt. I think I mentioned last time that I put in for a PFAS project through the drinking water revolving fund. It doesn't tie us to it, but I wanted to at least identify a project and get it on the list so that we could get it approved if needed. So that's at least out there. I think I put like $5 million project. I forget what number I used. But anyway, that's where that's at.
Now, some other towns have this system, right? Norwalk have this type of system.
The Norwalk First District had some PFAS issues. I don't know, I don't know what they've actually constructed or what they're doing. I know they took that well offline. Maybe one or maybe two wells. They took it offline while they were, once they determined that they had something. But I'm not exactly
Just
sure.
to
where
get
they're
an
at.
idea what's it cost,
Yeah. Well, I got some numbers from Marius on other New England projects and like I said. It was several $1 million per million gallons a day treatment and our wells are roughly, 1 million gallons a day. So I think I used a $5 million, placeholder, if you will.
When we drilled the well in Bergstrom, did they find any of the PFAS?
We found one of the constituents, we had a hit of 2 parts per trillion. Again, 2 versus 4,
Yeah.
Do you not treat, what if your next sample is 4.1? So at least getting some history will let us know where those numbers are gonna land. And again, at 4 parts per trillion, it almost seems like most systems are gonna have to treat for this. Is that practical? Is
It's only
that,
gonna get worse. It's not gonna get
but I mean, is it practical to impose that low of a limit where everyone in the country now is gonna be treating for it? I don't know.
Sounds like they're doing it though.
Well, like I said, that's what they've thrown out there as
Yeah.
far as their proposal, but.
Who's selling the chemicals?
You can throw it all out. They just don't have-
Chestnut Ridge Reservoir, I just wanted to mention, we talked about it before, we had some beaver issues on the, where that causeway is. And, the lower half, the downstream end of that causeway was right at the spillway elevation. So we came up with a way to discharge some water through the plant. So we've got the water level down about 1 foot. It took about 2 months, but we've made some room. So now we're gonna see if DPW can get in there, kind of cut a little bit of a notch in the causeway that they just kind of, strengthened. And they'll then backfill that with riprap. So the water can kind of, pass through. Hopefully then we get that upper end of the causeway. Now that I have room in the lower end, we have room to kind of equalize things. What else? I'm using DPW and I we're gonna share an intern for a few weeks in the summer. For a couple of months. He's gonna help me out with, we've got to do this lead inventory of all of our services. He's gonna digitize or scan a lot of our records that Kelly and the guys have basically paper copies of. So we can get all that up on the computer. And we can get him to maybe utilize some of the GPS equipment to start, inventorying and getting some data for our GIS mapping on some of the valves. So I got a few things I'm gonna try to use him for. We're gonna split the cost, so I think I've got him for 5 weeks and Eric's got him for 5 weeks. And it really won't be much of a hit, so I think we'll get some good work out of it.
How are you gonna determine where the lead whips are?
I don't know that they may go down as an unknown, when you first inventory them.
Yeah.
You're at least gonna identify the material. So if you have a galvanized, what do you have? Is it a lead whip or is it something else, But the rule, the way it is right now, you don't have to replace the lead whips unless you come across them. So right now, they're not kind of in the rule that you've got to go out and replace everything. So, but there's a lot of work to do still with getting all of those services inventory. Our records aren't the most in-depth.
Just a quick question for Kelly on the lead whips. Over the years, you've gone across 1 or 2, haven't you?
Yeah, well, actually, when we did, Fleetwood, there were quite a few.
There was
And-
quite a
and
few
the
there.
ones that we didn't see, we just considered, if they weren't copper, we considered them to have lead whips. So those have all been taken off the board. Everything is correct.
I think we had that leak on Milwaukee, #1, right,
Yeah,
remember?
that was a lead whip that blew up.
Yeah.
So that's been replaced.
But basically, anything that's gonna be galvanized or brass, is gonna have some sort of a whip on it, whether they took it out years ago and put a piece of copper tied in, do away with whips. pretty much, we're just considering anything brass or galvanized to have. But
So, yeah, that's where we're at for that. I'll take,
the one thing I haven't found is a lead service yet.
Yeah.
I mean, so some other towns I've seen, but I haven't seen that. They're full of lead.
I've never heard of any around here personally.
yeah, so far, so good. I can jump into
I'll
capital.
tell you what, you wanna, we should probably accept the director's report. So I'll make a motion, we accept the director's report.
So move.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no.
All right, capital, Bergstrom well, so work completed. They've done the land clearing, the silt fencing and erosion controls. They've done the building ground improvements, which are those rammed aggregate piles. They've done some minor excavation, labor and equipment, where the invoice also includes some stored materials, steel for the water tanks. Some electrical panels, bonds and insurance, and some mobilization. There's a lot right now, just paper going back and forth. When I say paper, electronic copies of submittals. To date, there's been like 87 submittals that have been submitted and reviewed. A lot of them now have been passed through, but hundreds of pages of information on everything they're going to be basically including. Concrete, fence, manholes, steel water tanks, the residuals, decant system, pipe, the well pump and equipment, iron and manganese treatment system, the liquid chemical feed systems, electrical gear, instrumentation and process control systems, valves, fire suppression. So Kovacs is doing a pretty good job. I think Wright Pierce is doing a good job of throwing back at them that they need more information or revise and resubmit. Wanda from Kovacs is, turning things back around. So far things have been smooth. We've had a couple of meetings and, they've been cordial. They've been, they've worked out well so far. So I think everything's going so far so good. Next up is probably we're waiting on the building permit. Chris thinks he should be able to get that in the next couple of weeks. Next steps are some underground piping where the building is, so then they can go in and get going on concrete footings in the slab. So a little slow right now, but again, a lot of papers going back and forth. And then once the building permit's here, they'll get their trailer set and there'll be a lot more activity. One other thing, as far as our loan and grant, I did submit to the DPH engineers, an analysis of Bethel's median household income. They're using the median household income as a way to determine if a community is distressed or not. With all the federal money that came in, they're giving out more grant money towards the distressed communities. So we did like a weighted average. We came up with, of our customers, less than the state average for median household income. I don't know if that weighted average method is gonna, be acceptable to the state. They may want to just look at the entire town. If they look at Bethel, our average is probably above the state median household income. So it's kind of an unknown. It's in their hands. Hopefully we'll get lucky, and if they deem that yes, then we might be subject to additional grant money. So I'll keep you informed.
Well done.
The sewer system rehab project at the railroad easement. The contractor came across a little bit of a snag. It was really kind of unknown to all of us that they needed a Connecticut DOT sign off for them to get their insurance and to get their permit approved. So that has been now submitted to them. We're kind of waiting on them. I had a contact with who I dealt with when we had the water main break on Greenwood Avenue. He lives in Bethel. He's their train master. Anyway, he knows the players from DOT. So I asked him if he could kind of help us get that moving. So it may still be a couple more weeks at the best. The contractor's probably not going to have a lot of work. He's going to be done probably in a week or two. We still should be good with getting it done this summer before school. That's where we're at. Last project is the Clark Park pump station. The pump one pump's been installed, the rails, the floats, the transducers, the controls. It's operating, everything's good. We had a little bit of a snag there. When they wired the pumps up, they wired them with a standard 35-foot long electrical load, wires. Didn't quite get from the pump up and around and to the controls. Had to get rewired to a 50-footer. So they've already done one. That one's now installed. They've got the second pump. That's getting rewired. Because when they measured it out the first time, 35 feet was enough. But we ran new conduit. We came out and around the slab and it came up just short. But anyway, we're pumping, system's working fine. We're waiting on a generator, automatic transfer switch, and a flow meter, and then the electrician has a little bit more to do. And then, so if you go by, it looks pretty good. The building, that little shed's gone, and it looks pretty good. But not done yet. We're getting there. And that's it for projects.
Questions? Okay, move on to the utility supervisor's report.
I got a couple things I gotta scratch off now, but we're good.
You stole all your thunder?
Water side, this past week, we had the 2 insertion valves done. We had one at the well field coming out of the plant. It was an 8-inch insertion valve. We didn't want to shut anything down while it was being done, so we had a company come in and they actually cut out a portion of the pipe, just like they did over here at the railroad station, and dropped an 8-inch valve in. And then we also did, I don't know whether you noticed on the corner of Maple and Hickok, we did another one there. We put a 12-inch in. What we found when we had a leak over there and we were going through all the valve layouts, that if we ever had to shut down the 12-inch from Maple Avenue, from Hickok and Milwaukee up to, like, let's say, Worcester Street, we wouldn't have had a flow to get us to the tank. So it was something that we would be feeding off of the tank why we ever had a shutdown there. So we decided to install a valve there. That was a capital project. And we came in under, I think we was at 50,000 pounds. We came in around 40 right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's good. And we put in for next year, possibly one out on Nashville. So that we make sure that we can get water going both ways, whether it be up to the tank or to Briarcliff. It's the way the valves are laid out there, so it's a little bit different. Let's see, we started on raising and rebuilding some of our hydrants. There's a couple of them up at the school complex were very low. So we were able, even though they were older hydrants, we were able to get parts for them. The newer hydrants we have, there's like 4 to 5 different versions since the 1940s. And it's just trying to find all these parts for them. So we found a good connection out in the middle of the state. So we're able to extend the hydrants and rebuild them. Which has been a good learning experience for a couple of new guys. They just, they've been working with it. We had another one up that we did up on Midway, and there's another one at Ian Circle that we want to raise up because the steamers are actually in the ground, so you really can't spin anything on them. So we got those. Right now, we've only got 2 hydrants out of service. Of course, the one at the bottom of Hickok here, this company that I found all the old parts. I want to try rebuilding that hydrant. I want to rebuild the bonnet. If I can get that rebuilt, then we don't have to dig it up. We don't have to take out the neighbor's trees or anything like that around the hydrant. So I've got parts on order for that. So that's one of my biggest hydrants I'm worried about right there at the bottom of the hill. Guys have been working on the MIUs when they get a chance between different things. This past week, well, past 2-3 weeks, we've been working along with the summit with the HOA up there. There's some issues with, we think there's a leak on one of their irrigators. We've been going up there and helping them along with it and trying to find out what it is. We have it pinpointed to one of the irrigation systems. There's actually 5 of them up there on the summit. So we're working along with them, doing meter reads. We've got charts measuring pressures and stuff like that. So I'm hoping the next week or so we can get that sorted out. Bobby's going to start paving next week, so I think he's got 7 different streets on the list, so we'll be out there putting risers and rings and marking all of our stuff, so everything is up to level. Sewer side working on, you know, the monthly PMs, every month or two, they're going out, checking the amperage and all the pumps. Checking all the check valves, taking the check valves apart, cleaning them. So we're pretty good. We're pretty tight at this point right now, with the exception of, like I said, of the summit. But the only good part about that, it's metered. You know, we know what's going out, so we just gotta control that a little better. Help them control it, because as far as I'm concerned, our system is tight. Whatever going on is out. These meters aren't flowing. So that's the good point. And other than that, that's where we're at. The day-to-day operation.
The meter for the summit is in the pump station?
There's, for the irrigation, there's 5 different meters laid out through the area. And they all have their backflow preventers right after the meters, and everything after the backflow. I mean, before the backflow on our side is tight.
There's a master meter in the pump station.
Well, that's, yeah.
Well, you have that, plus you have individual meters in every unit. And by the way, they're done finally up there. They're basically pulled right out. Now we're dealing with the HOAs up there.
They do use a lot of water though for irrigation.
Yeah.
And if you drive up there, the lawns are, there were sod lawns and they water them, I think 6 days a week. So I think Toll Brothers was more in control. So they were watering like crazy.
They wanted to look nice.
The homeowner that I'm talking to now, they realize they're paying this bill. So I'm kind of trying to
They
talk
might
them
cut back a
into
little bit.
scaling back some on irrigation, just to kind of, they don't need to water as often as they are, so.
Okay. All right, I have one more question. My pressure tank on Chestnut.
Been dragging their feet on that.
We're actually in good shape now. The pumps, the on-and-offs are come way down. They've come way down, but no, we haven't put the tank in
All
yet.
right. Let's try to get that done before winter. It's gonna help.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm sure.
That's the worst thing for a submersible pump, the on and off, on and off.
Yeah. No, you're right.
What's the scoop on this? Cause I'm coming in late to dinner.
Okay, the Briar Ridge, we put
Yeah.
a pumping station down at the bottom of the hill.
Yep.
And there's submersible pumps that
Okay.
increase the pressure for an 8-inch line that we did on Briar Cliff and then onto Meadow Lane
Okay,
up there. And so they're small pumps. So if someone has a leaky valve or a running toilet,
right.
as the pressure goes down in the main, the pump has to come back on to have a constant pressure on the main.
Right.
So by having a pressure tank, just like in your house.
Yeah, just like a well.
So it doesn't go on as often.
I got you. All right.
What's the problem putting a pressure tank in?
No problem, really. There's no problem with doing it.
We keep talking about it, but we never do it.
You're right. It just, we looked into it. We never pulled the trigger on it and
I think the trigger has to be pulled.
I think we pulled it tonight.
Okay, thank you.
I got one other question. On some of our meters that are not working, okay, we do have some estimated bills. How many do we have that we're getting estimated bills for? Do you have any idea?
We're probably around 700.
700 estimated?
There's too many.
Yeah,
I was thinking,
and as we have the time to do it, we get out there and do them. Paul has been making parallel, Paul and Aaron have making appointments. A lot of them we can do right off the side of the building. A lot of them we need to get into the home. So when that happens, then we have Aaron, Paul and make appointments.
Do you think it's worthwhile hiring somebody to go out and put these meters in so we can recoup the money?
Well, the thing about it is, these were all installed 2002 when we did meters.
Yes, they've reached their expectancy. They're 20 years old. And those are the ones, if we have some that are, let's say, only 5 years old, we get a credit as long as we take them, but the other ones are not giving us credit on. But there are, we've done a lot of them. And, as they get older, the batteries are getting weaker, especially in wintertime. But that might be the option, if, you know, if we can
You
get
probably-
somebody.
Are these the unit on the outside of the house?
Yeah, yeah.
Majority of them are,
I,
yes.
I
So-
haven't done that because of the labor involved with having a contractor doing that. It's gonna be somewhat expensive.
Do we know the difference between what an estimate, like?
Yeah.
What we're getting?
We have a list, we get a list every 3 months.
Right.
The ones.
So from that, can we make an estimate to what we're losing?
That's tough to-
Yeah, they estimate the bill based on the
Yeah.
consumption history.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in theory, you're estimating it correctly.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but also you're gonna get a homeowner saying, oh, you know,
Understood,
it's more than I use. or
understood,
whatever, you know, so.
understood. And it's just, it's better, it's not good customer service
Well,
to have
it-
multiple
Could we
estimated
just
reads.
investigate what it might cost to hire somebody? I mean, do we need an electrician or a plumber, or can it just be
I don't
a
think,
handyman doing it?
I think it's basically a handyman job. It's 3 wires, it's pulling, taking them off the wall. Stick them on, you know, the side of the house and wiring them back.
You have the meters to do it though.
Yeah, we do. I've got a little bit of stock there. I don't have a lot of stock, but I have a little bit of stock.
Well, the only reason I have a question is because the guy at the package store, he had an estimated bill of $350. And there's a guy that's a manager, sits on a tree all day long selling liquor. He doesn't move, they picked it up. And if he uses the bathroom 4 times a day, it probably is a lot. And he got a $350 estimated bill. It's not good public relations.
I get it.
And I think that's the whole key. I had another woman lives over on Taylor Avenue. She had an estimated bill for a whole year. And they finally went over and put a new meter in.
Yeah, part of the problem is like and I have in the budget. A new billing and customer information system. That the system that we have, Munis, it's difficult to kind of run ad hoc reports. And if you go to them, okay, for something that you want, a specific report that they have to come up with it and design it, and they charge you like crazy for it. What I want to try to do is age some of those estimated accounts, like how many accounts have been estimated more than 4 times? How many accounts are, the meter is, you know, greater than a 1-inch meter? So I can at least kind of try to hone in on A, the bigger accounts, and B, the accounts that have had more estimated reads than, say, somebody that only just got 1 so far. But it's difficult.
Sure.
Like this last quarter, we just did all the schools in the town buildings. Because there seem to be quite a few of those. So anything that we can get in the, you know, make an appointment where we're getting, you know, like the YMCA. Any of the schools, stuff like that. They get all those taken care of.
Yeah, and if they go too long, then you're in a bad spot with then giving them a big bill.
So,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know, so how about this? How about, you know, you guys give some real thought to it between now and the next meeting. And the next meeting, let's come up with a goal of how many we do over a period of time, like something that's realistic that we can achieve, but at least we're moving that number, right? If we have 700 of them outstanding right now, let's have some sort of goal where we're saying, all right, we're gonna do, 200 a quarter or whatever that. You have to decide based on what you can pull off, obviously. But at least we're moving that direction. And then, you know, maybe we decide, like to Rich's point, we have a contractor if we can't get enough done. Like if you look at a goal and we just can't pull it off, then maybe we start looking at a contractor. Is that reasonable? Just to, Rich, how you feel?
Yeah, I do, because you've got 700 out now. By 3 months, you might have another 300,
That's,
you know,
that's,
I mean, then you're up to 1,000.
But 700 didn't just happen. It's been over a
Yeah.
very long period of time.
Yeah.
We never really jumped on it at that time.
Well, we've been working on it for.
Well, nobody's saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Well,
I
you
don't,
said-
I don't know the numbers on how many we replace in a quarter,
I
but
can attest that you guys, came out to 147 South Street.
Yeah.
That was a couple years ago.
all right, we'll dive into it a little bit more and try to figure out, you know, a priority system.
Okay.
or we could pick up, say, 100 a month or something like that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
and make it
yeah.
reasonable, you know, just a
You know,
reasonable.
if you tell us you can do 100 a month, then, you know, we'll hold you to it, and then you're making progress. You're doing
Okay.
50 of them.
So, I like,
Adjourn the meeting.
hold on before we do, I'd like to make a motion to accept the utility supervisor's report.
No,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
he's happy. He wants to go.
Got it?
No,
All right, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Brian, I'll see you at 2
2 o'clock tomorrow, thank you.
Thank you.
Here's the money.
What are you gonna do? Put that pressure tank in the wall?
Well, what I was gonna do was buy a tank.
Yeah.
And set it up in that